Today's AskReddit post. What is the most rich thing you've seen wealthy people say / do casually? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. My friends bought a house in Palm Springs, but the renovation was taking too long, so they just bought a second house in Beverly Hills to live in during the renovations. They kept both. A relative bought a house in Malibu Colony, right on the beach, to live in, while their Palisades home was being remodeled. Then they told me they kept the Malibu home, because it was just easier than driving back to the Palisades after a day at the beach. Palisades isn't even that far from Malibu Colony. That's wild. My dad knows a billionaire who had a French chateau disassembled and reassembled in the US. He acted like it was just as normal as building a house. My dad's been there a few times and said it's an insane property with a huge man-made lake and huge sprawling lawns. I went to a guy's house one time that has been a church in the UK. Apparently it was going to be torn down, so he had it shipped to the US and then built a modern house around it. Stunning home. Going to their app in the city, so they have a place to hang out in between shopping at stores. Their app is only for that purpose. There's also a Bougie name for it, Pied a Terre. I sort of have a summer residence, but I'm not super rich. I make about $70k a year and the median full-time salary is $80k here in California. I'm a teacher and I go stay at my parents' house, visit family and take community college classes during summer. Pay USPS to keep the local branch of their post office open. It had been selected to close, so they didn't have to drive as far to go to the post office. That's more along the line of calling the congressman you own and getting a few strings pulled. Strings made of money though. I used to work at a jeweler and the stories are endless. Clients would talk about how they just got back from a months-long trip on a yacht or some exotic island. I'm just like, cool, I put in 60+ hours this week and have worked every day of the week, lol. The poop that I wouldn't get at all is the watch guys. I had a client come in one time and ask for the cheapest watch we had, so he didn't have to worry about it on his trip. He ended up going with a $800 watch, not the cheapest, and while I was checking him out, he said he was going to throw it away after the trip. I tried talking him out of it and just said return it afterwards. But then he seemed insulted. Other watch guys would pay $1k every year just to get a little scratch on their Rolex that only they notice buffed out. Ed explained to them that they are shaving precious metal off every time and ruining the integrity of the watch. But they jaff because their egos are so massive. We'd hold private events and encourage clients to bring their friends and it'd always turn into a dick swinging contest of who can spend more. Absolutely wild environment, and I was absolutely burnt out after 2 years. Most money I ever made, but most miserable I've ever been. Insightful because those people consider even expensive luxury items totally disposable. I once stayed at a place that was $10,000 a night. Amenities included. Luckily my health insurance paid 90% since I met my deductible. I see you two have stayed at Hotel Ask Bethel. The spa menu leaves a lot to be desired. Sponge bath was mid. I once saw Jeff Bezos pay $100,000 to get a guy off the stage at an auction event. The guy on stage wasn't going to leave until he reached his goal, and Jeff was tired of listening to him. By Felicia. $. I worked in a sporting goods store in my early 20s and got absolutely screamed at by an old man for not knowing who he was when I asked him for ID. Apparently he owned like half the town, and others at the store would kiss his ass. At $9 an hour I wasn't paid enough to kiss his ass, even if I cared who he was. I wasn't from there and had only seen him come in a few times to buy random poop. But either way, the federal ducking government requires you produce ID to purchase a firearm, and I was doing my job. It's been over 20 years and my husband, who has heard the story, will randomly look at me and bust out, "You seriously don't know who I am?" Exclamation mark. I live not far from an old, now abandoned, castle in France. It was bought decades ago by a Chinese couple. They had the staircase taken out and shipped to China and just left the place and never returned. It's been neglected since. Wow, I'd love to know which was it. What an insult. Someone once asked me where I summer. Never felt so poor than saying I'm here. Using summer as a verb is a sign we are not in the same tax bracket. Yeah, I'm lucky if we even get to take a 4 to 5 day vacation in the summer. We don't every year. I had a friend of mine casually ask if I wanted to go to Dubai for a week to do some skydiving training in a couple of weeks. My response was no. I have to work for a living. Blew my mind when they asked me, like it was no biggie, to duck out for a week and blow $15k. Casual, spontaneous international travel really is a hallmark of the super rich. My millionaire aunt scoffing at the idea that my single mother taking care of me and my younger brother couldn't find a place to live because $3,000/month is easily affordable. Edit, $3,000/month being the average rent in the area. Jesus. Can't wait to be looked down upon once my sister and Bill receive a huge monetary gift from a family friend. Not my friend, but my Bill became friends and he ultimately became the old man's beneficiary. We are talking $40 million. I know deep down I'll lose my sister to this wealth, and I'm not looking forward to it. Wealth changes people and it's never for the better. I'm a single mom too, and I was chastised for not having a lot of money, for getting divorced, and for spending money on my girls at times outside of my means. Tell your mom she's doing a wonderful job and all that money doesn't mean poop if the wealthy person is an asshole. My soon-to-be mother-in-law asked me and my fiance, her son, if we knew that some people don't have reliable transportation to get to college, which causes them to miss class and or show up late. Apparently, her most recent appointment as a chair of a teacher education program at a university has been very eye-opening for her. Oh lord, this is not going to end well. I know an almost billionaire who is very sweet. He kept his oceanfront condo for his mother-in-law to stay at for like a month a year, and went to it every day to feed the stray cats who lived around it. The place is paid off mind you, but has high fees, a paid parking spot, utilities etc. cost almost 20 grand a year. Get stressed from a true crime podcast and book a tropical jet away to decompress. I daydream about that kinda stuff. Right? Exclamation mark. My life is so stressful from day-to-day living and a pressing need to pay bills that I don't even have time to daydream about a jet away. I daydream about not being stressed, though. Not taking free expensive stuff given to them because they probably already have a lot and or they think it's something only poor people do. It's ironic because all these brands try to give those they perceive as rich more free stuff that they don't want or need. I had a friend whose parents obscenely wealthy, like she'd pay $100k every year to bring her horses from Canada to FL for the summer to ride at the stable I was working at, and her horses were worth $300k plus. She offered to bring me back with her to Canada to take care of her 3 horses full-time lol. She'd always take the free stuff and pass it along to me. It was awesome to use. I never could have afforded it otherwise. I had no idea how much they got. I'm a professor at a private university. One October I was talking with one of my students about a hurricane that was approaching Miami and how bad it could be for the people who live there. The student, who was from Chicago, said in acknowledgement, "Yes, my family had to have our captain move our boat. I believe it was Hurricane Matthew, and it turned northward before reaching Miami." This isn't as extreme as most of the stories in this thread, but my in-laws casually have Chicago Cubs season tickets and attend 70% of their home games. Not so crazy, except that we all live in Nashville. I come from a very poor family, so the first time I learned that I was absolutely blown away. As a Cubs fan, this would be one of my ultra-rich luxuries. Season tickets, and an apartment in the city for a place to stay. Friends' wealthy parents were going to give me a set of furniture for free until I wound up moving cross country. Couldn't accept it. Before I was to take it, I asked for the manufacturer so I could take measurements for my house to make it all fit. They responded, "Oh, we are not sure. It's pretty old." Here I thought it was maybe from the 70s. Yes, it was from the 70s. The duck in 1870s. From France. And it was all handmade Louis XV pieces. When I showed my home decor obsessed mother, she appraised it all. Some were north of $5,000. Just for a small hallway desk. We are both upset about it to this day. My brother-in-law spent $44,000 on an 8x 10 inches drawing of a stick figure that looks like a 5-year-old drew it. I worked $1 million wedding once. They dumped $50,000 worth of flowers in the trash after the ceremony. They didn't even wait till the wedding was over or donate the flowers. I was walking to the porta potties they made the help use. Past the dumpsters and there they were. I thought it was an apt metaphor for the rich. Who do you donate flowers to? They only last a few days at best, right? What are people doing with used flowers? My mother-in-law would take the flowers from church. For some reason there were always fresh flowers there and put them in people's hospital rooms. She was a nurse and also give them to the old folks home. In 1994, I watched the CEO and founder of my employer, with an estimated net worth of at least $100 million, drop a $20 bill and other bills on the sidewalk. He glanced at it and then kept walking. I've done the same with a penny on a busy sidewalk, so I understand perfectly. Still fucking with pennies. Huh. In the 80s and 90s I picked up all change. Today, minimum quarters. A girl I worked with asked me where I spent my summers if I didn't have a beach house. I said, her beach house, and she invited me the next summer. Never went though. Shoulder gone. When being surprised that airlines will allow a larger looking backpack in the overhead, he said, "Oh, it's been so long since I've flown commercially. I had no idea." He said it in such a shy manner, like he was embarrassed to say he flies privately. This is a 75-year-old that looks like he's a regular middle-class Joe and gives off no hint that he's extremely wealthy. I watched a guy walk into a car dealership and buy a Suburban. He literally walks in, goes up to a sales guy, points to the one in the lobby, and goes, "I'll buy it. I don't want to haggle or any high pressure bullpoop. I'll pay sticker and I need to be done in 10 minutes. He was driving it out of there 10 minutes later. I asked the other sales guy, "Who the duck is that?" He goes, "He owns a bunch of fast food places. Pizza Huts and KFCs and stuff I think. He comes in every few months." "What does he do with the cars?" I asked. "Sometimes trades even in. Sometimes signs them over to friends or family members. He gave our secretary his old Corvette. Said it was about to die anyway. Only had like 50k miles on it. She still has it. Been 3 years. Went to a wedding as a +1 at a mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut, the bride's parents' home. Her father was talking about the landscaping and how his wife liked a rock, which was about the size of a small car, that was at their other home outside of Denver. So they had the rock moved from Denver to Connecticut. Seriously, they moved a rock halfway across the country. A ducking rock. This is the best. I won't feel rich till I do this. Have a literal bell to call the maids. Also an intercom. I use Alexa to call my kids for dinner and to do chores. Does that count? How does Alexa do chores? I witnessed a guy park in a bus zone in front of a meter maid. They told him he can't park there. He told them, "Have the towing company park it for me. I'll have someone pick it up later." That's actually magnificent. We used to summer in the Hamptons. From MISO at the time. I said, we used to summer in a trailer park which was also our home. Pills in comparison to some. But this guy paid me $100 just to walk over to the pianist at the fancy restaurant I worked and hand him $500 to play another Elvis song. He was a Texas oil guy. This guy paid you $500 just to slip the pianist $100? Crazy. Edit. I just got your joke. Heh. Yeah. dropped $600 for a song, like it was nothing. No singing. No Elvis dancing. Just piano music of any Elvis song. Wild. As we are installing a wireless access point in their home theater, my son crashed and totaled his Mercedes. Will you guys be done in time before he gets back? We need to take him to get another one. A guy I served at a bar paid me to let him keep drinking at the bar after close while he waited for his ride. As an attendee of a dinner paid for by a boss, after closing the staff drove a big group of us to our next stop of the evening in their personal cars because taxis and Uber weren't a thing in that town. I felt a little bad about it, but the boss paid them well. Him going to the lake house to summer with friends. Where do you summer? Is an old money dog whistle. I used to say this as a kid to sound fancy. My parents kept their first 11k home in a very rural area that we'd spend summers at, and I'd say, oh, we summer in town name. My buddy went to Five Guys yesterday. Whoa, okay, big spender. The head governor of my high school was a millionaire and would occasionally show up to have meetings with staff and or parents on how things were going and where he could better invest in the school. One of these days he shows up and finds a kid crying by a vending machine because he dropped his £1 coin and it had rolled underneath. Governor opens his wallet, gives the kid a £10 note, and wanders off. The vending machines only accepted coins, so the very confused kid was a lot richer, but still no closer to being less hungry. My manager told me about his copper mug for Moscow mules with no whining on the yacht engraved on it. I feel like there are levels to this. Overheard a restaurant owner ask one of the employees if he had any summer plans or hobbies, and the barista answered, I like to read and walk around and go out when I can, I guess. And the owner replied, yeah, it's great to get outside. I'm picking up sailing this summer for that. TBF, I've known some fairly broke people that sail. Their boat was like 10k. They did put a ton of work into restoring it. It was also where they lived, so rent was only the slip fee. This person is where I first heard the term wallet free weekend. Spending the weekend in a gunk hole is fun and cheap. My friend asked me to help him take the curtains/drapes down in his house because they block the sunlight. Baffled when I told him they can be opened. Stop, this one is too much. You should get one. Like I can afford it. I used to work as a waiter for a Michelin star chef. He had his own side hustle providing catering for weddings and events. One of the events was a charity fundraising auction. Total tax dodge. The items being auctioned were brand new farming equipment, heavy duty vehicles, Persian rugs, sought after art pieces, etc. Honestly, it was disgusting to witness, and I felt like I was peeking behind the curtain. The celebrations to announce lunch and end the lunch were a brass horn section to announce lunch beginning, and then daylight fireworks. Also, peacocks walking around the grounds was Saltburn level posh poop. All old money. Also, forgot a funny one where I had to call a client. They didn't pick up but immediately called back. Ever so sorry, the phone in the East Wing seems to be on the fritz. That's a level I never even thought of. So smarty having a fundraising dinner. Worked at high-end car dealership. Wealthy rich kid comes in for service. No rental car available for him. He walks into showroom, picks a car to buy so he can get home. All done within 20 minutes and few signatures. My wife doesn't like our private jet, so she rents an jet whenever we travel. I just meet her at the resort. Real quote. Verbatim. Didn't know how to respond genuinely, so said, AHH. Hate when that happens. Couple booked out a famous landmark venue for their wedding years in advance. Just before their wedding, the venue owner asked if they wouldn't mind changing the date of their wedding, as a wealthy couple wanted to use the venue for a birthday party. Now, we've got everything organized. We are good. They will pay for your wedding entirely if you change the date. UHH. Thanks but no. It will be a pitter to change the date. They will buy you a house and pay for the wedding. So what did they do? When we are in Galapagos, we stay at the ultra high-end hotel. My horse groomer brought them in last night without drying them down. Said after screaming, "This is unacceptable," several times into a work phone. "You have an irrational, exaggerated fear of debt." No dude, I really don't. Totally get what you're saying. And I'm heavily in debt and not rich. But I do know that not drying down horses is like if you went to the gym and worked out hard. Then you were not allowed to take a shower or change out of your workout clothes. Friend used to work at a stable, and not taking proper care is cruel to the horses. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.